Hello again. My name is Justin Stairs. This is the Brussels Signal Studio, and we have a guest. We have Tilly Metz. Thank you again for coming.
My pleasure.
Mrs. Metz. Tilly is from Luxembourg and is with the Green Party in Luxembourg and therefore sits with the Green Group in the European Parliament here in Brussels and in Strasbourg, and is at the top of the list in the coming June election. So we have a number of subjects. Obviously, green-related subjects will definitely be among them. But what I'd like to do, please, is start off with a personal question, and that is regarding your good self. How did you get into politics? Why are you a politician, Mrs. Metz?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you want to change something, I mean, I was quite not an easy teenager, always a little bit in rebellion. And then, of course, my mother told me, if you really want to change something, you have to get inside the system to change the system. So then finally, when I was at university, I was interested what are the political parties in Luxembourg, and then I was first at the Socialist Party, working in a there was kind of a working group for people with disabilities, people that were discussing subjects on people with disabilities. But then at the Socialist group in general, I didn't feel so well, and then I was reading the program of the Greens in Luxembourg, and especially what they have for education, for more inclusive, fair school system. I found totally what I was looking for. So I said goodbye to the Socialists to join the Greens.
Okay. And you hinted there that you were something of a rebel. I don't know if that's the right word, because I have obviously researched you. And in 2018, 2019, you were arrested here in Belgium for successfully infiltrating what the American base here in Belgium as part of a protest against the U.S. nuclear weapons. Is that correct?
Yes, we wanted more to raise awareness that there's American nuclear weapons are here in Belgium and also in another European countries. And so at that moment, you must imagine, it was not a time of war. And we wanted just to raise awareness that these nuclear weapons are there. And also to show that it is quite easy to get access to them. As we were three women, I think I was the youngest of the three, and we got some training to get in there and also some information what is the best angle to get access to this military bases. But nevertheless, we were like maybe 100 meters from where the nuclear missiles, yes. Missiles is the right word, thank you. Where, and then, of course, we got arrested.
On the runway, is that right? You were on the runway?
Yes. We stopped, I think it was an F, without being a specialist on planes and so on, but I think it was an F-16, and they had to stop him in order not to take off, and and of course we got arrested, but that was, we knew that we would.
That was the aim.
Yeah, and it was time enough to show our roll up, to show our message about against nuclear weapons in general, and also raise awareness that they are there, because a lot of people are not necessarily aware that they are there.
Did they treat you well after they arrested you?
I mean, they did their job. I mean, that's they were not happy. Of course, they were. That's the least I can say. They put us on
handcuffs.
Yeah, handcuffs, and but it was okay. I mean, it was what we expected. Yeah.
This leads me in to the nuclear question in general. You are anti-nuclear, not only weapons, but power. Is that correct? And if so, why?
I mean, there are a lot of reasons why I think that nuclear energy is not the right way to go. First of all, it's not taking us out of a dependency. We don't have uranium here in Europe, so we need to import them, and we need to import them from which countries. We have to have a look also at those, not necessarily the most human-friendly. It's also autocracies or dictatorship that have a lot of uranium, where we need then to import it. So it's not increasing our independence. It's very expensive, and then also, of course, there is still no solution for the waste of what is left once.
Right.
So there is still an issue on that, and you have to cool down this during 80 years permanently in order that there's no risk. So that takes also a lot of energy to do that.
Right.
And then this killing water gets back into the rivers. It's a little bit heated up, warmed up, and this is again very bad also for biodiversity. So there are so many reasons. Also, if you think how long it takes to build up new nuclear plants, I mean, that takes too long, 7-8 years. We missed completely our climate goals if we say, okay, let's now invest in nuclear energy. So it's definitely for security reasons, for efficiency reasons, for economical reason, it's not the right solution.
Oh, this is very divisive now in the European Union, and you have countries such as France which are investing massively in nuclear energy, and there are others who say that it could be an answer or a partial answer to climate change, in that obviously it's, in terms of CO2 emissions, it's not as bad as fossil fuels. What do you say to that?
First of all, you have to have a look at the whole picture. I spoke about the importation of uranium. That also takes energy. It's not very ecological also. And then, as I said, all the energy that is needed to cool down the waste that is there and that is very dangerous, very radioactive, that needs to be cooled down. So we need to have a whole picture of it. And then I think we have to make a difference on, do we do new investment in nuclear energy or do we ban nuclear energy? I mean, what we want is not from today to tomorrow a ban of nuclear energy. I mean, we are realistic. We cannot, as you spoke about France, that would be not possible at all. What we want is a progressive phase out of nuclear energy, which is quite also an expensive energy, because today we have the technological solutions to really invest massively also in renewable energy. So why? Renewable energy is more climate friendly, gives us independency, much more autonomy towards also other countries, and it's you can have it much quicker. So
and it's also very expensive at the moment, at least.
No, not once it's there. I mean, you don't have to pay for the sun or for the wind. We need better measures for the storage of this energy, and there we need also to do more research on. But there's still possibilities. We need to do better also, for example, in recycling batteries. I don't say that everything is fine regarding renewable energies or circular economy. There's still work to done, but that's why every euro is now important to invest into the right direction. And that's why, for me, one of the biggest shock really was the classification of this taxonomy. You know,
right? This is just so I explain. This was the Commission deciding that the nuclear energy is part of this classification, which favors investments, correct?
Exactly, and that for me is definitely the wrong way. You know, you cannot want everything at the same time. It's time where we need to make important political decisions, and also for investment. You cannot want this and exactly the contrary. So now it's time to invest every euro in renewable energy. But that does not mean that I want to ban nuclear energy tomorrow. I mean, that would be, I'm not living in the Teletubby land, you know. I mean, we have to be realistic on that too.
So carrying on with the nuclear theme, obviously, arguably here in Europe, we're now sitting. We're now under the threat of a nuclear war. I mean, the Russians are threatening to bomb the West regularly now. What is your position on the Ukraine war, please?
I mean, our message must be very clear regarding Ukraine. We need to support Ukraine with humanitarian aid, of course. We need to welcome people fleeing from Ukraine, the refugees. We need to give them a perspective also on the European level. So all this is very clear. And also we need to support them with weapons. I mean, it would be hypocritical to say, oh, we support you, but no, not with weapon. I mean, I'm a pacifist. I don't like that. I mean, that's completely hypocritical. But on the same way, we need also to look, of course, in parallel for diplomatic solutions. But right now, how do you want to speak with Putin? I mean, that's I don't right now. Unfortunately, I don't see really a quick end of this war. Even we need to work on different levels to somehow get that. But give up on Ukraine, I mean, that would be very dangerous for whole Europe. I mean, then he's not going to stop to stop there the Russian invasion, and also, I mean, all the misinformation that the people of in Russia get on that invasion of Ukraine. So no, I think we need to be very tough and very clear that we are going that we stand with Ukraine and that we're going to support them.
Does that include the possibility of sending Western troops to Ukraine?
I think also that would be the not the wrong signal right now. At least it's not the moment to foresee that right now. It's really what we really have to think with consequences which acts has here to support the Ukraine very clearly, also with weapons. I think that is for me clear. I always take the picture when you see somebody on the other side getting attacked with a knife or just shouting over and saying, "I support you, be strong." I mean, that's very hypocritical. So we need to support them with weapons, but sending troops there, that is again another step. I would not, for now, go in that direction. No.
Not now, but maybe in the future.
I don't know. Okay. I mean, that's really to think about the consequences. We really import the war much inside the EU. Then
because we're in a fairly tense situation today, aren't we? Because people like President Macron say, "Listen, if Ukraine loses, that won't be the end of it. We are next." This is perhaps his strongest argument. And then on the other side, people say, well, if we send troops to Ukraine, we are entering the war.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not, to be honest now, a specialist on defense strategy, but for me right now, would not be the solution to send troops there. We need to send humanitarian aid. We need to help the people, of course. We need to do everything and use our channels everywhere in order to give a strong message, but also trying to look for solutions, of course.
Is this a view in Luxembourg? What kind of view do most Luxembourgers have on the Ukraine war? The same as yours?
I think it's quite similar, even with the current government, where the Greens are not in anymore since last October, but I think there we are on the same line.
On the same page. Well, you say you're not an expert on defense, but you are an expert on environmental issues, and I want to move on to the farmers' protests in particular. 5 minutes away from this office, we witnessed firsthand where myself and some of the reporters were there dodging the tear gas and breathing in the fumes from the burning tyres. Are you a supporter of the farmers' protests?
Let's say I understand the farmers. Yes, I do perfectly understand the farmers, because the common agricultural policy makes their life impossible, pushes them into a non-stop increasing of making also more and more debts, puts them under enormous dependency on inputs, on pesticide, on supplements for feed, for their intensive farming measures. So I think the common agricultural policy, that is the result of the common agricultural policy. That is not the result of some rules that you have to respect regarding nature, regarding our natural resources, because without nature, no food, no farmers. So I think at the end of the day, farmers and the green movement, we have the same fights, but they are so much into the narrative. It's because of the rules we have to respect regarding nature, but that is like that is a narrative that our opponent really were repeating stopless. But when I talk to farmers, I mean, I do understand who wants to live, they work really a lot. They have to do a lot of administrative work. Bureaucracy. They don't like that.
Right.
But who put the rules of this common agriculture policy? It could be much easier. We wanted with the last common agricultural policy to make this work easier. What did we do? At the end of the day, we made it more complicated. When I said we, not the Greens, because we voted against this common agricultural policy, which puts the farmers into logic. And you have to get bigger and bigger or you die. And that is the reality. Every day in Europe, farmers give up their farm. Families are pushed until their end. Farmers are suiciding themselves because they don't support the pressures anymore. So we have to give the farmers the dignity back, and also that they are able to live with dignity with what they produce. So we have to change the paradigm of the common agricultural policy, and not rewarding only the bigger you are, the more money you get. Because now we are in a logic that you get the money you get is of the size of the surface of
based on the surface area.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And
right.
that is something that is the wrong approach. I mean, the logic of this common agricultural policy is out of the 50s, after the war, after the Second World War. And there the logic was really we have to feed the people, to give them food at a low price. So it was really pushing intensive farming. But today, I mean, we have to change this mentality. We have to do farming that respects the farmers, that respect nature, that respects the animals. And
okay, so could you give me one or two key policy changes that you would make if you were in charge?
Of course, I would make this paradigm shift, not to give you subsidies only.
Not based on surface.
Not based on service.
But based on what?
But based on the quality of the products that you produce. Okay. So it's now very simply to say, but to really put into center of the concern the quality and not the quantity. We are exporting, of course, a lot of products, agricultural products, also outside the EU, where we are, by the way, destroying markets outside the EU.
Dumping, you mean?
Yeah, it's dumping because, of course, there are subsidies, and we are destroying also market there in other countries. And by the imports of feed for the intensive farming that we are doing, we are also contributing to deforestation in Latin America, and we are also introduced there soya that is genetically modified in order to feed the animals here, and so that cannot. The whole system for me has to be resolved, and there are solutions with a more with an agriculture that is more local, that is more organic, that pushes farmer less also into this dependency to pesticides, etc., to all this input that they have to use. But of course, we have to acknowledge that some farmers now have so much steps, and if I come there and I say, okay, I want you to change completely your system, they need definitely support in order to do also this ecological transition. They need financial support, they need also counsel, they need advice on how to do that. And so to leave the farmers alone, even for those who want to do that, during 3 years in order to become, for example, an organic farmer, without that I'm saying that all the farmers must be organic, but that would be the ultimate aim, of course, but I'm being realistic on that. It's not from today or tomorrow that would be possible, but we need to support the farmer much more.
Understood. Mm-hmm. Now, when I talked to them, and I went down here to the square, to Luxembourg Square in front of the Parliament, one of the complaints they have is that the imports don't have to abide by the same rules as farmers do here in the EU.
Exactly.
Is that a fair complaint?
That is totally a fair complaint. And again, we have to analyze, but who voted all the free trade agreement? Who is now in favor of a Mercosur agreement with some of the Latin American countries? So we need to put mirror clauses. It cannot be that also it's so crazy, the system right now. There are pesticides that we are producing in Europe. They are not allowed in Europe, but we sell them to those countries, and it gets then imported again.
That seems crazy.
Yeah, so the whole system is really, and I do completely understand the farmers. How could they have a level playing field with imports of products that don't have the same standards that they have to comply here? So they're completely right. But again, the direction of the anger has to be against the right persons.
Who's to blame?
Who's to blame?
I'm asking you.
Yeah, but that is the question, really. Is it really the Greens who did not vote for this common agricultural policy that puts them in this really unbearable pressure of getting bigger or die? That's not the Greens that wanted that. And also, who is supporting all these free trade agreements? It's certainly
so you're pointing the finger at at the parliament majority, no? You're pointing the finger at the European People's Party and the socialists and von der Leyen.
Not all the socialists, but it's clearly the conservative and also the far right people that supported all that are on the side of the big
industry.
Of the big industry. It is not normal also that the farmers cannot decide on their price. Who decides on the price of the products of the farmers? It's the retailers, it's the big companies, it's the big agro companies. It's not themselves. They are told you have to produce as low as possible, and I don't give you more than this. So this is the whole life of the farmers is very. That's why I say it's give them back their dignity. It is not empowering the life that, and then with all that, sorry to interrupt my phrases, but with all that on the top, they have also to do a lot of administrative burden. That's not something they like.
No,
in general, nobody really likes that, except some exceptions.
Some weirdos, right? Okay, but of course, the reaction now over the last 2 weeks has been to U-turn on the part of the European Commission, on some of the environmental requirements that the farmers were due to comply with. That's been the reaction. So you're claiming that's the wrong reaction, correct?
Yeah, totally correct. It's not by even watering down everything regarding the Green Deal or everything respecting nature and as natural resources. And sorry to repeat myself, but without a healthy soil, without a healthy nature, there is not going to be agriculture in the future. There is not going to be food in the future, And we have to look also there at the bigger picture. It costs also a lot of money to make our waters healthy again when they suffered from inputs from pesticides, insecticides, etc. The soil, the more they put pesticides on it and fertilizer, the more the soil is dying. So it also needs money again to restore, to make a healthy soil again. So all this costs also a lot of money to the whole society again. So we really have to look at the larger picture and not only think of short-term benefits.
And now, so if I can summarize what you're saying, it would be that a radical reform of the common agricultural policy that would help farmers and not a U-turn on the environmental measures, right?
Exactly. We should sit together with the farmers and discuss what they really want and discuss also what they really need and also what the citizen expect from their food.
They would probably say more money. Come on, let's face it. I mean, more subsidies. I'm just wondering if this push towards organic farming, I'm wondering if that would put the prices up of food in Europe.
I mean, in general, what is also shows that the system, that there is something wrong. Is it normal that food that is not very healthy, that was produced with a lot of chemical inputs, that is less expensive than healthy food done with less chemical inputs, etc.? It should be the other way around. And with the budget of the Common Agricultural Policy represent 1/3 of the EU budget.
Right.
So you have in your hands a huge instrument of orientating a good agriculture that is better for the farmers, better for the people, better for the environment. Why don't you do it? Because there are big lobbies behind it pushing you for doing...
Money.
Exactly.
So do you have any support outside of the Green Group?
Yes. I think when I talk to the farmers, at the end of the day, to the farmers, to the people, often then people say, what are we waiting for?
But within the European Parliament, is there any support outside of the Green Group for this kind of radical policy?
I think not only people from the left, but also some socialists, also some people from the liberals agree. Yes, we are going the wrong way. But I say, the majority, of course, from the conservative and also even some socialists and a majority of the liberal don't see it that way because they are. I mean, the presence. I don't need to tell you of the big lobbyists. I mean, the people producing a lot of pesticide without naming them via Monsanto, and which is also all these products are very bad for the farmers, are cancerogenic, etc. And who is making again the medication then afterwards when you get cancer? The same.
Interesting.
So I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes, yes, we need to look further than just short-term economical benefits.
Okay, now you seem to be suggesting there there might be a bit of a left-right split in the Parliament on this subject, which leads me into my next question, which is obviously we are now in March. Let's look forward to June, and we have elections coming up, followed by changes in the institutions, in the European Commission and what have you. How do you assess the performance of Mrs. von der Leyen and Mr. Michel? Over to you. What do you think?
I mean, to be honestly, I started in the European Parliament, it was July 2018, so a little bit before the election. It was like 9-10 months before the next elections, 2019, where Commission von der Leyen started. And if you would have told me in July 2018, we are going to speak about Green Deal in the next legislative period, we're going to make we're going to give us a climate law at the European level, I would have said, go on dreaming, that's not going to happen. So at the beginning, I was positively surprised that we would go really working on this Green Deal. But then, and now comes the big but, the intentions were there. But at the end of the day, if I'm looking where we're standing now and what did we really realize regarding this Green Deal, we did not go very far. At the European Parliament level, yes, we have a nature restoration law that was now, we have a climate law that is not going far enough, but a lot we have also now regarding the buildings. We have no new rules in order to have also better isolation of the building. So there are some steps that were done, but a lot needs to be done. Reduce pesticides, a sustainable use of pesticide, but that's how it's called. We are nowhere. So a lot of files were diluted, did not come. The whole revision of the animal welfare legislation.
You're interested in that, animal welfare.
Yeah, so there were 4 big legislation regarding farm animals that were foreseen for the end of 2023. They are completely blocked. The only one that is out now is the revision of the legislation regarding the protection of animals during transport,
right,
which is one little wheel, and which again shows the absurdity of the whole system, that we have to travel animals throughout Europe. It's just they get to birth at one day, they are fattened at the one, they are slaughtered 1,000 kilometers away. So it shows again the whole system that definitely for agriculture is insane, and it leads to a lot of suffering. And 10% of living animals are even exported outside the EU. So just to give you a few examples, when I'm looking where we are now regarding the Green Deal, I'm disappointed, and even more when I hear now that Ursula von der Leyen wants to, and you mentioned it already, regarding agriculture, even make every rules regarding environmental limitations to have just a nice to have, but
water
not an obligation.
Them down, basically.
Yeah, again, water them down. And this is, in my eyes, purely in order to have the very conservative people of her party on her side for the next...
In order to get reappointed.
Exactly.
It's a political maneuver. So out of 10, out of 10, this is the voting bell. Were you going to vote for her again or not if you get re-elected?
I did not, the Green Party at the end of the day did not vote for her the last time, but then I said the start nevertheless was a positive surprise, how she, but for me, we need clear steps regarding achieving our climate goals, facing the biodiversity loss that is so huge that we really have to face. It's about the living on Earth for the next generation, and I mean, I read already now that we have in Brazil 62 degrees, fell 62 degrees. We are really, and so we really have to act. And we know that the people from the IPCC, so this international platform on climate, those are not green people sitting there. Those are scientists, and they are saying that. So that they are clearly also saying that climate crisis is due to human action. So we need to act, and we have the technological solution. So it's only about political will.
But it seems as if Mrs. von der Leyen is not convinced of what you're saying by her latest actions. You judge people by their actions. So am I right to conclude that, in your view, not good enough? Is that a...
Not good enough is an euphemism right now, so it's a catastrophe right now.
And does that mean you'll support her reappointment or not?
She has to come with very strong arguments to persuade now the Greens. So for right now, I think it's completely going into the wrong direction. She's doing campaigning and I on the back of nature and of the future of everyone, of the farmers, of course, too.
Okay, and Mr. Michel, Charles Michel, head of the council?
I mean, everything the council is doing for us parliamentarians, it's more like in a black box. I mean, I hear, like you, I watch TV, I watch the news. I mean, I just acknowledged that he wanted that being now a candidate, and then he said, oh no.
He didn't want the job anymore. You mean he wanted to go back to Parliament, right?
Yeah, and I think you have a mission, and you have to do this mission until the end. I mean, people are expecting you there, So, but in general, I mean, he's a sympathetic person, but really can judge him on every work he's doing. I mean, the council for us is in the negotiation. It's in general often not easy, first of all, because we don't know exactly what they are, how they are negotiating, who is defending what, because it's much more in a black box compared to the European Parliament procedures. And on the other side, in the Council, we in general have more, for me, that is one of the biggest enemy of the European project, is when protectionist, nationalist thoughts are too much present. And so that's what we often have to face when negotiating with the Council, is that member states want to keep a maximum of just looking at their own situation and at their own politics and at their own next elections.
On which subject, and we've already gone over 30 minutes, so I'm going to wrap it up, but the Greens, surely it's fair to say, have been having a tough time recently, and that's not just in your own country, where you're no longer in power, but in other countries as well, like in Germany, for example. There seems to be a backlash against the Greens. Why is that?
I mean, we have to face in what situation we are. We are in a situation of multi-crisis. I mean, there is a lot of feeling of insecurity. People, I mean, even the climate crisis and the biodiversity loss crisis are now much more in the back. We have to face the invasion of Ukraine, war on the European continent, and then we have the Near East, the Gaza conflict, all the dramatic situation, which of course has also huge impacts on Europe. So we have also then the energy crisis, the inflation that came with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So many topics, crisis, without forgetting, of course, the pandemic that we had to go through during 2 years. And so also this fear, I mean, in a situation where people have fears, I mean, and they feel insecure. And then you come as a Green or some progressive party, you come, we need to change. We need to make a ecological transition. People say, "Oh no, please, not. I want security now." So for my studies, I'm a psychologist, so I do perfectly understand that people have these fears. But we, together with the people, we have to name those fears, and we have to tell them that more than ever, we need a strong Europe. We need progressive ideas in order to give even more competences to the European Union, to make us stronger, to fight crises like pandemics or climate crisis and war. So we need to even stick stronger together. But that's something people don't want to hear right now. They are more getting protectionist. They are more afraid. And on these fears, I think we have to put name and discuss with the people. So all this ecological transition needs a lot of good communication and understanding the people, and taking them seriously also with their fears. And then it's easy in crisis situation, and we saw it in the history, to look for a bouc émissaire.
Yeah, that scapegoat.
A scapegoat. Yeah. And right now it's the refugees, it's the green movement, it's the woke movement. So all the people that try to have change and more progressive politics. Those are the scapegoats, and it's very easy for the far right parties to point out those people as the scapegoats, as people are already so fragilized and insecure.
What about just on Germany specifically? There is deindustrialization going on to a certain extent. The economic model is buckling, perhaps because there's no more cheap gas from Russia. But lots of people think that the green drive has actually put up the prices of energy, and this is one of the reasons why the economy is in trouble. Is there any truth to that?
I mean, if you look really, the production of renewable energy is cheaper than fossil energy, and that is something we have to say. So it's the fake news and the disinformation and is very strong, and that's something we need to fight. But then if we start too much explaining, then we come over again, oh yeah, the Greens trying to be our teacher and trying to explain. People don't like that. So I think it's more about getting the people emotionally on board, that we don't want to leave anybody behind, that renewable energy should be accessible for everybody, and that we need targeted help for the people in order to get there, regarding housing, regarding energy, regarding mobility. We, the Greens, were the first speaking of mobility poverty. There are some people, we cannot say to everybody, oh, just take public transport. I mean, right now, it's not accessible everywhere. When I'm living in a city, of course, there you don't need a car, there's public transport, but we need to take also all those people that cannot afford living in the cities, but they have to be far away. We also have to give them very concrete solutions for this ecological transition, because I'm always saying the ecological transition has to go hand in hand with social justice, or social justice has to get hand in hand with the ecological transition. For example, if we don't provide good isolation for housing for all the people, but who is going to pay more at the end of the day when when the house is badly isolated for the heating? Who is going to pay more? Again, the people that already cannot afford isolation for house. So we need really to give targeted help financial help to those who really need it in order to achieve this ecological transition.
I was going to leave it there. Then I just suddenly realized we haven't talked about immigration. It seems to be it's a big issue coming up to the election. What do you say when you talk to people in your country, I don't know, or anywhere else for that matter, here in Brussels, who say they fear their society changing because of immigration? What's your answer?
I mean, we need more legal immigration. I mean, what we are doing now, building a fortress Europe and letting people die in the Mediterranean, this is non-assistance of humanity in danger. It's so we cannot continue like that. I mean, we need rules. I'm not against rules, of course we have, but the solutions that were also discussed at the EPP Congress, the so-called Rwanda model, where you take the refugees and you put them all together in a so-called safe country, for example, like Rwanda or other countries, I think this is a completely wrong way to tackle this issue. Or also for those people are just trying to survive, and it's not by building a fortress Europe that you're going to avoid people from just trying to survive.
Right.
I mean,
so it's going to carry on. But so what's the solution?
But the solution is to improve legal ways of immigration. And you must know also, and this is also reality, and probably a lot of people are perfectly aware that the European population is aging.
Is in decline.
Is in decline and aging. And for a lot of sectors, I have a daughter working in Horeska, in restaurant business. In a lot of sectors, but also in agriculture sectors, we need also immigration. I mean, look at Meloni. She built a whole campaign on, these refugees needs to stop. But then at one moment she admitted, okay, but we need nearly 450,000 immigrants because the sectors also need. So even if you have, which I don't like, a very utilitaristic view.
Quota sort of
yeah,
system.
Voilà. And what we need, thank you for mentioning the quotas, what we need is also more solidarity among the European countries. We cannot leave it to some countries to manage the immigration. We need not more solidarity towards those people, but we need also more solidarity amongst the European countries.
Share the burden, which you mean. And okay, so your answer is more legal migration. And what about the illegal migration? I mean, this is...
I mean... I remember there was always people also saying that no human is illegal. I mean, once they are here, of course, we have to analyze the situation, of course. But there would be less illegal immigration if we would allow legal and ways of immigration, and also not building camps outside the EU, etc. That is not the right solution, neither on the humanitarian view, neither on the security view. That is not. But we are right now even going more and more into the model of building a fortress Europe.
Right. Okay, that's the reality.
Unfortunately, right now. But so that's why the next European elections are so important. And I really make a call that people should go to vote. Otherwise, other people are going to decide for you.
And within the parliament, do you think the EPP, Socialists and Liberals, this is what people are talking about today at least, it might be different next month, but you think they're going to form the basis of a coalition in the next parliament?
You mean how the coalition is? Is it going to be the same coalition as they have
or
had?
An expanded one?
I mean, which is very important. I hope they are not going to make coalitions with the far right people. But I mean, it's up at the end of the day. It's really up to the people now to decide who is going to be in the next European Parliament. Who is really, and I hope that people really also analyze the program of the people, because, as I say, often the far right gives an image as very close to the people. But indeed, they are defending elites and they are defending the multinational. If you look on what they are really voting on, they are not making votes that are really bringing more social justice.
Tilly Metz, we've gone over 40 minutes, I think. Thank you very much for coming to the Brussels Signal studio. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.